All right, so in today's video, I'm going to be going over how you can create your own in-house creative team, a little bit about the content system side of things, but mainly getting people in the door to even work with you and your brand as a whole, because there is a lot of different ways you can go about managing a team, making sure that they are all on point and A players, but actually getting a lot of potential in the door is the first step. So making that system as efficient as possible is very important. Now, I want to go over some of the pros and cons of having a content team in-house compared to actually going and hiring someone else or white labeling the service. And it really just depends on your business model, because there's a lot of different businesses that require different things, because a lot of the cons of an in-house creative team is that they need the training, they need that constant management, and then you have to really create good systems around them to be able to scale it. But the pros of that is you get direct oversights of the projects being done. Like I say here, everything is a lot quicker in the turnaround. It's a little bit more cost efficient because you're getting direct source to the editor that you can then build a relationship with, create incentives around for them to really want to create good work for you. And they also really understand your company culture. That's another thing that I wanted to emphasize in the pros is if you actually have the people in-house, they are focused on your brand. So over time, the little things that make you you, they're going to pick up on and be able to implement into your content really in a way that only you would be able to after a certain amount of time editing your content. So it's a super important part that I think a lot of people overlook. But before we get into everything as far as actually getting people in the door, you got to understand what you're looking for. So in my experience, I've seen that one editor can handle about 1 to 3 reels a day. This is like 30 a month, I would say, is a good estimate. 1 a day at the very minimum they should be able to put out for you. If they aren't able to do that, then your style might be a little bit too complicated, or you might want to get an editor that can handle that kind of depth with the style, I should say. Same thing with YouTube. So with YouTube, you should probably expect around 2 to 4 long form videos. The reason that I separated them is because if you're going to be creating long form and short form content, it might be better for you to split up the two. I've seen editors that have been able to handle both, but for the most part, if you can dedicate both different markets essentially to 2 different editors, then you'll get more effective work. You'll get quicker turnaround. It's just going to be a lot more specialized, but you might end up having to pay a little bit more or just pay another person for that. So again, it all depends on what you're looking for. But when you figure out what you're looking for, what you want to get the editor are a few different things. So when you work with us, you get a client HQ, and there is a lot that is within that, but the main thing that I want to focus on is this brand identity sheet. And within this brand identity sheet, as you can see here, we go over your brand asset pack. Every client gets a brand asset pack. So we'll essentially build out your entire brand, all of the highlights, everything that you can imagine that would go into actually creating a personal brand. That is what is inside of that pack. And then from there, you also want to understand their niche, content pillars, any reference profiles. You want the editor to essentially just have a full SOP to follow to understand the brand guidelines, because that's super important when creating content. Because our goal, at least this is what I believe with content, is you want to have your own unique voice in it. I've seen people that you can literally look at their content and you know exactly who created it, who was the first person to do it, because it's a copy and paste version. And if that's the route you're going down, then this isn't super important, because you can just say, hey, look at them. That's the style I'm looking for. Cool. But if you want to create your own unique voice, then it's really important to have your own unique brand identity. Now, let's dive into the actual system. How can you funnel people into a spot where you can then own their attention to then have a pick of the litter of who is the best to then bring onto your team? And I think it's really important to have a pool of people versus constantly putting out job posts, because it just makes it easier. You don't want to always be putting out different job posts, having to look through different resumes, so on and so forth. If you can build a community of people that they have to go through a process to then get into, it creates filters so you can understand who is joining and you can get a much deeper look into that person. Now, this is where we begin. You want to start with a job post. I know you said you want to avoid those, but you have to start with a job post so people can actually see it. I recommend using Upwork or Online Jobs. I've used Upwork mainly, and I've heard really good things about Online Jobs. I've briefly dabbled in it, but personally, I've just used Upwork in my experience and found that it has been really, really reliable. But in that job post, you want to ask them, what are you looking for? Or you want to let them know, I should say. What are you looking for? How many videos do you need edited? What's the approximate pay? And then you also want to add a link to the hiring form, number 1. at the bottom of this. This first form is just really general. You just want to get to know that editor a little bit and understand just kind of some of their more basic things. But the real reason that you're doing this is because it acts as a filter. Now, I'm going to dive more into this throughout the process, but as you can see, hiring form number 1 is also filter number 1. So in that first hiring form, as you can see here, you're going to want to ask them those initial qualifying questions. This is essentially going to make sure that these people are the highest of quality. Because you'll notice that if you've ever put out a job post and then that's all you've done, a lot of the responses that you get are random and just super unqualified sometimes. We want to bypass that by creating filters, things that people actually have to go through to then submit. So the people that are submitting it, went through a process, and if they didn't, then you can very easily tell that they just skipped through everything. So here you're going to want to provide the links to the styles that you want edited, and like I say, ask those initial qualifying questions. Then you just want to simply export all of those responses to the Google Sheet. So now you actually have them somewhere. You can look through all of them at a very surface level instead of having to go through each individual answer. And then from here, the next step, this is something that is very important to this entire process, is having a Discord community. I recommend Discord over pretty much all of the other community building platforms because it is completely free to actually have a lot of the features instead of having to pay to use it. And most of the things that these other platforms have, you can do within Discord if you just kind of understand some of those little technical parts about it. But this acts as the second filter. So after you've exported all of those responses, you can go through them, check their portfolios. You can handpick which ones you want in the community. Or if you get a lot of responses, because that's usually the case, then you can just kind of email everybody and then have them inside of your community from there. Because again, this is a filter. So the only people that are going to be joining are people that actually took the time to see the email. Well, first, they actually took the time to see the job post, read it, click the form, go through the form, fill it out, and go to the email to then join the community. So now that's the second filter. And inside of this community, you're going to want to provide training, resources, job opportunities. Keep it active. Don't just abandon it entirely. I can understand it can be tough to manage at times, but you want to make sure that you're actually providing value to them in exchange for them being a part of the community. And also, if you have an editor on your team, you can have them manage this and just say, hey, I want you to treat this as your own community that you can provide value to. Now, here is the third filter. You want to have them do a test edit. So you're going to want to give them 10 to 15 seconds of an unedited clip and then give them direction on the style that you're looking for. You can create an SOP also breaking down like a brief training of how to go about editing the style and your standards as a brand if you want to go in depth with it. But what we do is that, but what you can do is just give them, hey, this is what we're looking for. You already have given them links to the styles that you're looking to have edited, but if you were looking for a specific thing for yourself or for a client, then you can put that link inside of this test edit SOP. And then now you have the hiring form number 2. This is where those deeper questions go. So how many edits they can do a day. And this one you can also add in the first one as well if you want, just to really make sure that every person is going through it, because sometimes they might not make it to that test edit. So if you still kind of want to see and then reach out anyways, then you can ask that question in the first one as well. But you really want to know how many can they do a day, what are they expected to be paid for their quality of edits and efficiency, their time zone, things like that, to really make sure that when you do connect them with someone or when you work with them that you're as on point as possible. Then here's where you'll also ask for that test edit. And then from there, you're going to want to add the best submissions to your final editor database. And this will just be an exported Google Sheet of all those answers that you can design and make look pretty. So then you can go through. One thing that we do is we have in that exported Google Sheet on the right, a conditional formatted like 1 to 5 stars, where after we go through those test edits, we can label them. So it makes it a little bit easier when going to pick out an editor to implement with someone or to work with us. Wait, there is more. So I didn't want to leave you guys empty-handed, because I know that that was an entire system that I essentially just gave you with a lot of missing pieces that you would have to go build. I don't want you to have to do that. I want to give you as much value as possible. I don't want to gatekeep any of it. So I have a free gift for you. I took most of the things, pretty much everything that is required to build this system, and I put it inside of a document. It is in the link inside of this bio. You can click it. It's completely free. But regardless, I hope that you found value in this entire video as a whole, that you implement this system and even see results from it. Please let me know in the comments, shoot me an Instagram DM, whatever it is. I would love to be connected with you. I'm going to end this video here for good retention.